What happened in Pahalgam is just not another terror attack. It's a piece of much larger game. Today, we dive deep into India's response, the hidden moves of global powers, and what this means for the future of South Asia. Namaste and welcome to this special episode of Global Focus. Today, we delve into a deeply critical and urgent issue, the recent Pahalgam attack that has once again shaken the conscience of our nation. But this is more than just a terror strike. It's a calculated move on the global chessboard of power, alliances, and state sponsor agenda. To help us decode this complex scenario, we are honored to have with us Dr. Adityanjee, President of the Council for Strategic Affairs, a distinguished scholar, strategist, thinker who brings unmatched clarity on national security, international diplomacy, and geostrategic responses. Dr. Adityanjee, it's an absolute privilege to have you with us. Thank you for joining us, for sharing.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Harisina, for inviting me yet again on your platform, Global Focus. It's a very important topic, uh, not just for India, but for the entire world,
Yeah,
because the reverberations will be heard everywhere and
yeah,
there'll be repercussions.
yeah,
So there is a need for very serious and thoughtful discussion
yeah.
on Pahalgam terror attacks and counter response by Bharat.
Yes, yes. So the very first question for you, how is India's immediate response to Pahalgam attack shaping its image globally? What do you say about it?
Well, India's response has been very measured. It has been multidimensional and multi-pronged. Now, if you look people, there will be people on two different extremes. One extreme would say that you offer the other cheek
Yeah,
and get another slap on your face.
yeah,
Uh, don't react, whatever. The other extreme will say we need to go out for an all-out war, maybe nuclear war, and wipe out Pakistan.
mm,
I think there is need for very deliberative, contemplative action, and that is what the government of India is doing, albeit there's slightly slow response. You know, when somebody indulges in terror attack, which is premeditated, and it was premeditated, General Asif Munir, in a meeting with overseas Pakistanis almost 2 weeks ago,
yeah,
immediately before the Pahalgam terror attack, sounded a dog whistle when he's, you know, resurrected the two nation theory, talked about superiority of Islam over their adversaries.
yeah,
This was a sign to the terrorists that had been infiltrated across the border in advance to act. So that was the dog whistle. And if they can do premeditated terror attacks, and since India has been a victim of terror attacks, why don't we have a standard operational procedure
yes,
ready for implementation on day one?
right,
If you delay the response,
yeah,
you lose the surprise element. That is number one.
mm,
Number two, it gives the adversary chance to regroup
mm,
and prepare for a retaliatory attack or
mm,
a punitive strike. Number three, it gives the subversive elements within your own system
mm,
to up the ante in favor of the adversary.
yes,
Number four, it gives the so-called international community to counsel restraint and prevent escalation so that it does not become a wider regional conflict and both parties should, all that kind of blah blah.
Mm.
So from my mind, country like India that has been victim of terror attacks should have a standard operational procedure
Mm.
and a plan ready for action in case there is a future terror attack. I'm
Mm.
not blaming the government of India, but that is something that can be added to the mix of all the options that are available on the table.
Mm.
The government of the day has done very good job in having a very measured multidimensional response, and everyone knows about that. Putting Indus water treaty in abeyance is definitely one of the issues. Preventing, Pakistani nationals from coming to India, canceling all their visas, whether they were medical visas, tourist visas, and repatriating the Pakistani citizens back to Pakistan, closing the Atari international border, uh, downsizing the Pakistani High Commission in India, uh, declaring the military attaches of Pakistan as persona non grata and withdrawing Indian military attaches from there. Uh, Pakistan retaliated by cancelling Simla Agreement and closing their airspace for India, and India in retaliatory move, uh, stop Pakistani airline PIA to be able to use the Indian space for overflights, causing a lot of financial problems to Pakistan. And finally, also, India has banned all the, incoming mail and parcels or any kind of commerce
Mm.
from Pakistan. After the 2019, I think Pulwama attacks, India had already, terminated the most favored nation status to Pakistan.
Mm.
But what has not been done so far is a kinetic action.
Correct.
And Pakistan is shivering and trembling,
Mm.
anticipating the kinetic action by India, some kind of punitive strike
Mm.
that will happen. That's my analysis, and it is likely to happen probably in next few days
Mm.
because first Prime Minister cancelled the visit to Moscow for May 9th and deputed the Minister of Defense, Mr. Rajnath Singh, for the same visit. And now Mr. Rajnath Singh has also cancelled his visit and deputed his deputy Sanjay Seth
Mm.
to represent India in the Moscow May 9th victory celebrations. So you're getting a signal that something is going to happen. What is going to happen, nobody knows. I think it's only the
So, sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that India will be able to implement effectively all the measures it has taken? Because the court has started interfering with the government decisions.
see when the question of taking some kind of kinetic action comes, the government of the day should not respond to the judiciary. And this is what I was saying that you need to have a procedure, a plan, a counter attack, a punitive strike in relation to terror attacks ready for all the occasions
Mm.
because that prevents an immediate response in first 48 hours, prevents the subversive elements, anti-national elements to run to the courts and courts starting to poke their nose into national security issues. It's not their business. And my considered opinion is that the government of the day must not listen to the courts. It's
Mm.
not their purview, it's an executive authority. National security is executive authority, and they should, without any inhibition, do whatever is necessary. Do whatever is necessary. And I think Prime Minister has already told the armed forces that
Mm.
they have full operational freedom to take any action they deem
Mm.
necessary. Its issue is when the action is taken.
So, do you think India's response this time will deter future attacks or will it trigger more tensions in the region?
Look, if you don't do anything, do you think you would not have any future attacks?
That has been happening and this will happen again.
And if you do respond by a pinprick, do you think it will deter future attack? So, although the counter measures or a punitive response needs to be measured, and it should not be an all-out war, but it should be substantial enough and it should cause enough pain to the adversary, and it should cause disabling of the system, the terror system of the adversary to the extent that it does not rise back on its feet again. Now, that's a tall order, but it's achievable.
What role do Pakistan and China play in the broader context of Kashmir security situation today?
So, you're asking about China's role?
Yeah, Pakistan and China both combined.
Look, Pakistan has been harboring terrorists, using terrorists as a state policy that is known to all over the world. Pakistan's defense minister has acknowledged it. Chairman of Pakistan's People's Party, Bilawal Bhutto, has acknowledged it. In some old videos, former dictator and now deceased General Musharraf had admitted that Pakistan used terrorism as a state policy. And that video is from around 2003, 2004. So it's very well known that Pakistan uses terrorism as a state policy to interfere in India. China's role is also there. Now, I'll tell you what are the indications. China initially remained silent. After that, China gave a kind of very clever response, siding with Pakistan that there's need for a neutral, independent investigation. Now, that tells you what Chinese intentions are. And this was followed by a very interesting statement by one of the Bangladeshi generals that if India were to attack Pakistan, we should take Northeast India by force in collaboration with China. And these are not isolated statements. It has to be assessed and analyzed in view of Muhammad Yunus's, the chief advisor to the interim government of Bangladesh during his Bangladesh China visit, when he said that Bangladesh is a gateway to ocean to Northeast Indian Seven Sisters. And China is welcome to enter the ocean. So you have to carefully analyze these words and see what is the implication. Chinese never come directly, openly. They give coded language. You have to read the tea leaves, what they are saying. So China has culpability. China has military capability in Pakistan. China is the sponsor of CPAC. They have military bases not only in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, but also they have a military base in Gwadar. PLA soldiers are there in POK. They are there guarding the CPAC. They are guarding, Chinese nationals and engineers in Gwadar port as well as Gwadar International Airport. And although it is not acknowledged, PLA's military presence is gradually increasing in Pakistan on one pretext or the other.
So, in your view, is China quietly encouraging instability in Kashmir to keep India distracted from larger global ambitions?
Yes, that is definitely true. China did create a monkey on India's back by nuclearizing Pakistan. What China is doing now, they are boosting Pakistani Navy by giving them conventional submarines, which Pakistan has no capability of either manufacturing or purchasing because it's a bankrupt state. They are already, negotiating with the IMF a bailout package for $7 billion. So yes, India has taken some financial countermeasures, trying to, you know, put back Pakistan on the grey list of FATF, and also possibly oppose Pakistan's request for a tranche of $1 billion by IMF. I think in month of June in the IMF meeting, there are indications that India is not going to keep quiet. But the bottom line is that China is militarily strengthening Pakistan, whether it is fighter aircraft, the fifth generation fighter aircraft that have been given to Pakistan under quote unquote joint production. Everybody knows that the factories are Chinese operating in Pakistan. There's no Pakistani component. And of course, now giving, I think, at least 8 submarines to Pakistan. So China's role is there. It is very obvious. But China does things stealthily. And we have to understand that China is not a friendly nation.
So how might global powers like United States, Russia, and the Gulf country react to this attack?
Look, everyone is making soothing noises. Oh, India is the victim, this, that. Russia is already embroiled into a quagmire in Ukraine. So Russia has its own, problems to take care of.
Mhm.
And United States has given some positive statements and all that sort of thing. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has spoken to Dr. Jaishankar. Similarly, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke to Mr. Rajnath Singh. Interestingly, after the initial positive support to India, the Vice President of United States, J.D. Vance, made very intriguing statement that the response should be measured and it should not, escalate a larger regional conflict, and they should sort out their problems bilaterally between them. So United States stand is always ambiguous, and sometimes in the past it has been deliberately and very vehemently pro-Pakistan. Uh, and Indian government and Indian establishment should take any action keeping the national viewpoint in mind rather than the pressure from outside countries.
So can India truly rely on consistent global support, or will real politics always dilute the international outcry against such attacks?
I am not very. Can you repeat your question, please? It was not very clear.
Okay. Can India truly rely on consistent global support, or will real politics always dilute the international outcry against such attacks?
Look, if India has to take punitive countermeasures, India has to rely on her own strength. That is number one. Don't wait for approval from your uncles from London or Washington, D.C., or New York or Paris. If you want to do something, take the action. Don't be disabled. Don't be in an analysis paralysis that what would United States say, or what would UK say, what would Germany say, what would France say. It's your problem. You have been attacked. You don't need permission from anyone for self-defense. Remember in 1971 war, how many countries were against India? How many countries supported India in United Nations General Assembly? But India went and intervened in former East Pakistan and liberated Bangladesh. So whatever you have to do, if you have to create facts on the ground, you have to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And it's a question of creating facts on the ground.
So what should India's long-term strategy be to ensure both security in Kashmir and peace in the region?
I think this is a good opportunity for India to liberate occupied portions of the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir
Yeah.
and occupied territory of UT of Ladakh.
Yeah.
Substantial portions are under adverse possession
Mm.
of two nations, not one nation, two nations. So at least we can start by liberating the occupation by at least one nation on the western side of the border.
Yeah.
So that should be definitely one. Second is that in the Indian territory, the de jure Indian territory that is under adverse possession of the nation on the west of India,
Mhm.
there's a lifeline called Karakoram Highway.
Yeah.
Any punitive strikes should destroy the Karakoram Highway so that supplies from China to Pakistan are stopped. Karakoram Highway is on Indian territory under adverse possession. Any target in Pakistan occupied Kashmir and Pakistan occupied Ladakh should be a legitimate target for Indian punitive strikes, Indian punitive action, because that is our territory. We are within international law trying to liberate our territory. And this terrorist attack on Pahalgam, where the enemy infiltrated, and I'm told that they have created hundreds of tunnels across the line of control through which they are sending the terrorists. If that is not hostile military action, what is hostile military action? You need to learn from Israel how they responded to October 7 terror attacks in Israeli territory. So the response should be overwhelming. It should not be extreme. I'm not advocating for, you know, escalating in escalation ladder up to nuclear war, which is all nonsense. Uh, Pakistan deliberately, intentionally will invoke the issue of nuclear war to involve
Mm.
quote unquote international community from, you know, prevent India from taking punitive actions.
Yeah.
So you know that is for propaganda purposes. That's a kind of blackmail Pakistan, emotional blackmail Pakistan indulges in. But that should not be the issue. You know, we had the Kargil war. Both countries were nuclearized at that point in time. Uh, there was no escalation to nuclear level. But at that point in time, India liberated Kargil Hills despite Bill Clinton poking his nose and demanding that Mr. Vajpayee come to Washington, D.C. on July 4th weekend to
Mm.
meet with Nawaz Sharif and Bill Clinton to come to a resolution, and Mr. Vajpayee refused to do so and continued with the military action. So there is need for a substantial, overwhelming military action
Yeah.
and not just a pinprick. Pinprick is not punitive.
Yes.
If you are talking about punitive kinetic action,
Mhm.
and I am not a military expert, and I'm not going to second guess the Indian government and India's military establishment, I am very sure that they will take appropriate action.
Yeah.
But actions should be so overwhelming that the adversary starts crying uncle.
So, do you believe Kashmir's stability will come more from the military strength or from economic and social development?
I think those people who talk about social developments, I don't know what they have inhaled. Over period of 70 years, India has put so much of money into Kashmir
Yeah.
compared to how much it generates in taxes.
Mm.
This is all hogwash. It's all nonsense that it is the social development, the unemployment. That's why people are turning to extremism or militancy, or for that matter, the terrorism. And that is the fact. There was some local support. NIA in its investigation found that there were at least 20 overground workers. OGWs are the terror sympathizers who have taken roles in government, maybe local police, maybe local administration, who have created a support structure for the terrorists who were infiltrated. So, without dismantling this terror structure, by using strength, you will not be able to ensure peace. I mean, if you keep on pouring more money into the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the corrupt administration keeps siphoning off and they keep on buying villas in London and Paris, depending upon who's the chief minister, that strategy has failed for 70 years. I don't remember the actual figures, but the budgetary allocation by the central government to Jammu and Kashmir, formerly the state, and now the Union territory is disproportionate, heavily disproportionate. Indian taxpayers all over the country are supporting this terror infrastructure in Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and this charade has to stop.
So thank you so much, Dr. Adityanjee, for the incisive and eye-opening analysis. Your thoughts today have not only illuminated the layered response India must craft to such acts of terror, but also highlighted the strategic shifts unfolding across the global power matrix. To our viewers, remember terrorism doesn't exist in isolation. It is often a pawn in the hands of the bigger players, driven by ideologies, proxy agendas, and geopolitical gains. The more we understand the game, the stronger we become in shaping our national narrative. Stay informed, stay aware, and as always, keep watching the global focus, where we break down the stories that shape our future. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha, for inviting me yet again on Global Focus. My parting message to your audience, as well as to Government of India and establishment is, Shastrena Rakshite Rashtre Shastra Chinta Pravartate. If you do not guard your nation with the might of the arms, you would not be able to have philosophical and esoteric discussions.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.